Hey everyone, in this video, we're going to build a simple Django blog. So here's a little example of what's going to look like when we're done. And we'll have this page here. It lists out all of our posts. We'll have some pagination down here to be able to kind of keep a certain number of posts per page and be able to have these buttons to go through the pages. We'll have a featured page as well. And we'll have a little featured Boolean field on our model that allows us to set posts that will show on the featured page. So we can kind of highlight posts on this page here. Of course, we'll have login, logout functionalities. If I sign out here, I can log in again, takes me to this login page. I can log in right here with one of my users. And we could also have a register page as well to create new users right here. And then if we go into a post, hit read more, you can see the post is right here. We also have the ability to like a post. If I log in, I can like a post. So I'll log in with the user here. And I'll go back to this post. And you'll see right now we have not liked this post. So we hit like this post. It then increases the count here to 2. And then it gives us this unlike button if we want to take away the like. And then it takes it back down to 1, just like that. And inside of our admin panel, inside of our admin page here, in our article model, we'll have this special rich text editor here. So we can add in different formatting, line breaks. We can add like bulleted lists in, other things to make these posts more than just a block of text. So for example, on this another test article right here, I can add in a bulleted list, item 1, item 2, item 3, and we can save that, come back here, refresh the page, and now we have this bulleted list item show correctly in the HTML as an actual as an actual unordered list here. But yeah, that's a little quick overview of what we're going to build. Let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, let's go ahead and stop this development server. So I'll stop the server here, and I will open my terminal window right here. And this is just an empty directory I created for this project. I'm going to go ahead and just create a virtual environment first. So virtual env. I already have virtual env installed, so I can just run that. If not, you'll need to install it. Now that I have that virtual environment created, I'm on Linux, so I can activate it with source env bin/activate. And I believe if you're on Windows, it should be env/script/activate. And on Mac, it should also be env/bin/activate. Okay, now we can see that our virtual environment is activated over here. Let's go ahead and clear out this. Now you'll see we have the env folder there. I can go ahead now and pip install Django to get Django installed, so we can use that. And I can start a Django project by running Django-admin start project and then give it a name. In this case, I'll call it blog tutorial. And now if we do an ls, you'll see we have a blog tutorial directory as well now. If I cd in that blog tutorial directory, we have our manage.py and our root directory with all of our settings and other things there. I can now start an app by running Python 3 manage.py start app, and I'll call this app blog. I'm also going to go ahead and create one more app and call it users, and those will be used to store like our authentication sort of files inside the users app, and the blog will of course store the actual blog itself. Okay, now that those things are in there, what we can do is jump into our code here, and we'll jump into the blog tutorial root directory into our settings.py, and let's add both our apps to our installed apps list here. So we need to make sure we add blog and users right here. Okay, now with that done, let's go ahead and run our initial migrations by running Python 3 manage.py migrate. And then we'll go ahead and run Python 3 manage.py create super user. And this will be our login to the admin page. So I'll create just a simple admin user, give it whatever password you want. I'll give it a test password here for now, and that should be good there. Okay. Now let's go ahead and just run our server. So we can run Python 3 manage.py run server. And once this runs, you can see it's running on port 8000. Refresh the page here. We get the default landing page for Django. Okay, perfect. Everything's set up, working, ready to go. let's go ahead and get started. So first thing we'll do is we'll create a simple index page. And for now, we'll create just a simple view just to get something loaded, just to get this page set up. Then we'll slowly build out more once we have the rest of our site kind of in place. So we'll start by going into our blog app. Since this is the index page will be part of our blog, so we'll put that inside the blog app. We'll go into the views.py, and let's start by importing a new view. So we'll import, or I guess import the view class itself. So import, or from Django.views, import view. And we go and create our first view now, and we'll create a class-based view. So we'll create a class, call this index, and we'll inherit from view. And we'll do a def get for now, and we'll pass in self and request as the arguments there. And we'll go and just return render a template. So return render, passing in request as an argument, passing in our template name and a string, which would be blog/index.html, and then that should be it. Okay, so we're going to put these templates in the default location for Django. If you wanted to set that and change that, you can do it down here inside the templates DIRs list right here. But to keep things as simple as possible, we'll keep the location the default. So inside of blog, we'll create a new folder, and we'll say templates. Inside templates, we'll create another folder, another new folder here, and we'll call this blog. And inside of here is where we'll put our actual templates. So the default location for Django is go inside the app, create a templates directory, create a blog, or create a directory inside templates that's named the same as your app, in this case blog. And then inside of here, we can put our actual files. So here we'll put index.html. Now we could build out, we could just do like one of these and build out the whole file from scratch in this index page. But since we'll have multiple files here, let's go ahead and create a base.html, and we'll inherit from that and extend it in our index.html. So I'll create an additional file inside of here, and I'll call this base.html. This will be the base file that holds the basic sort of structure of our HTML document. We'll put Django blog as the title, and then inside of our body here, we're going to put 2 clear braces, 2 % signs. Now what this is it is a Django template tag, and there's different reserved tags in Django for the templates that you can use, and to use any of them, you have to wrap them inside of this sort of syntax right here. And what we want to use here is called a block tag, and we'll give it a name of content. And then we want to go ahead and close off that block by using what is called an end block tag, content. And then what we can do is, now with this saved, we can go back to our index.html, and we can use another template tag called extends, and we'll put in the name of our base template, blog/base.html. Gotta make sure we put the app name here in front because we are using the default location here. So we have to put blog/base.html. Now I'll explain what all this is doing here in a second. Let's go ahead and just create a simple page here so we can test it out, and I'll come back and explain it. So we'll put block content once again, and then we'll put an in block tag right down here, in block content. And we'll just put an h1 tag with index right there. We'll save that. And we should now be able to create a URL to actually show this. But before we do that, let's go ahead and go back over this and kind of go over what it's doing. So back in the base HTML, this is just a basic HTML file. And inside here, the body, we have 2 tags, block content and in block content. You'll notice that these match in our index file right here, block content and in block content. So what we're saying here, for an index page, we want to extend this blog.base.html. Use this as a parent file. So bring in all of this data, all of this stuff in here. And we want to replace everything inside of our block tags. So these names match up here. So what this will do is it will take this code right here, and it will replace it right here. So then our index page looks like this now. The indents. It looks just like this now. So now it has our HTML from the index page inside of this full file right here. So that's all we're doing, is we're telling it where to put the code at. In this case, we want to put it right here inside the body, and we grab it in here so we can know what goes where. And you could have multiple content blocks. We could create another one down here, using the same sort of syntax block, content 2, and we could do the same thing with the in block tag if we wanted to. In most cases, though, one tag here works just fine. Okay, now with that done, let's go ahead and create a URL and test out this page and make sure we see index show up on our screen. So what we can do is we can go into our URLs down here, and we could add it directly here, but just to keep things more organized, I'm going to go ahead and create another file inside the blog app. I'm going to save it as urls.py. And what we can do is we can add our URLs here and then just include them in our base. You'll see up here an example of how that looks using that include. You can add a URL just like that. And so that is what we will do. But first, let's go ahead and just copy in this stuff down here and put it inside of our URLs inside the blog app right here. We don't need admin, so we can delete that. All we need is path. And then we can set a path at the root, which will just be an empty string. So this will go just to localhost /8000. And we can replace this here with our view. So we'll do from.views import index. And then we can do index. And then since we have a class-based view, we need to do dot as underscore view and then do a name equaling index. So all we're doing here is we're saying if we go to just the root URL, we want to load our index view. Our index view, what it does, it just return renders this template, blog.index.html, which will load this page here. And since we're extending a base template, it will of course grab all of this and replace everything inside of the content block tags right here. In this case, only index and an H1 tag. We'll put that right in here, and then that will be the final template that is actually displayed to the user when this page loads. Okay, let's save that now. And now that we have all that set up, the last step is just to include this file inside of our root URLs file. So this is the file that Django is actually going to read from. So we don't have anything here. Nothing will happen when we go to that page. So we got to tell it that we have URLs available in that location. So we can do that by first importing include. And once again, the instructions are right up here. So you can just follow these instructions. We'll import include. And then we need to go ahead and create a path that looks just like this. And I'll just go and just copy this because we're creating a blog app. So it's exactly the same as this. It's literally blog.urls. If your app name is different, you want to change that here. This should match, your app name dot. There should be a urls.py file inside that app folder. So that's what goes inside of here. And then you can put the route here. In this case, I'm going to go to the root URL, which is just an empty string. Okay. Go back here, reload the page, and now we get index showing up on the screen. So now we correctly set everything up. We now have a little thing set up here where we can put our URLs inside of here, and then we'll load correctly into our root URLs file as well. Okay, hopefully it all made sense. If not, let me know in the comments. I'll try to help explain it a little bit better. But all we're doing here is we're creating a view. This view is returning a template. We're getting that template by the name here. That template extends a base template where we grab all of the HTML here and just replace a small section right here inside the body by matching up these tag names here and here. Okay, now with that done, let's go ahead and continue on with this. Okay, the next step is let's go ahead and actually add like a little navbar here. So we'll add a page here. We'll add another sort of file here to show like just the name of the blog, the two pages we'll have here, the home page and the feature page, as well as some links over to the right to allow a user to log in or out, or in those sort of authentication functions. So to do this, we're going to use another Django template tag. So let's go back to our base HTML, and we're going to add another tag above our blog content. So right here, I'm going to use what's called includes, or include, not includes, include blog/nav.html. What this will do is it'll take the data from this file and just put it right where this tag's at. And so since this is above our blog content, this will always be at the very top of the page. Let's go ahead and create this file, and then we can see how it actually looks and how it works. So inside of my blog templates, I'll create a new file here. I'll save this as nav.html. And of course, the name here needs to match up the actual file name that you create. Now in here, we can go ahead and create a nav.html. But before I do this, I'm going to go ahead and add in Bootstrap so that we have some styles to work with. And I'm going to use Bootswatch to kind of help change it up a little bit from your typical Bootstrap. So what we can do is we can jump into here. Let's go into new tab here. And we'll go to Bootswatch. And I'm going to go ahead and use the one called Simplex for this tutorial, but feel free to use whatever you want. When you find one you want, what you can do is find this little arrow down here, click on the bootstrap.min.css, and it will try to download it. That's not what we want. So we go ahead and just right click it and do open a new link, open link a new tab. You can now see all the code right here, and you have a link to it right here. So I'll copy that link, and I'll come back into the base template here, and I can create a new tag to actually load this in, a new link tag. So do link rel equaling style sheet href equaling that link right there. And we'll save that. And now with that tab, with that link in there, we come back here, we can close this out, come back here, refresh the page. You notice already it changed. It already loaded, so that's how we know it loaded incorrectly, because it already changed the font and everything else. So we know that we correctly loaded in the style. So now we should be good to create the navbar. And to create this navbar, I'm going to go to the Bootstrap documentation. And we'll use Bootstrap 5. And we'll go to docs. I'm going to search for nav right there. And you'll see a little example of a navbar down here. If you keep scrolling, we should find something more similar to what we want. Something like, maybe something like this. No. Let's go with, we'll go with something like this as a starting point. Go and just copy this code here, and we'll come back to our text editor, and we will paste that in right here. Okay. And if we save that and just see what happens when we load the page, we get something like this. Of course, it's not looking quite right. Let's make some changes to it. Instead of this body tertiary, let's go and just get rid of all of this and do bg-light, and also do a navbar-light. Save that, and then come back here and refresh the page here, and that looks a little better like that. Let's go ahead and start setting up our different texts and links in here. So this one here, we'll make the link go to the index page, and so we can use another URL tag or use another template tag called URL here to do that. So Django has this built-in URL tag where we can put URL and pass in a string of a URL name. So in this case, we go to urls.py, we set name equals to index right here. So this name is what we'll put inside of this href tag right here. So that length, just the root URL is what will go inside the href. And we'll put just Django blog, I guess, as the name for now. And that all looks good. Let's go ahead and come down here. We now have this home page. We don't really need a home page. We'll just have the featured page, I guess. So we can get rid of this features and pricing links down here, and we'll just make this called featured. And of course, we haven't built out the featured page yet, so we'll leave that link just a empty hashtag for now, just so it doesn't go anywhere. We'll get rid of the active on this as well. Now we save that, we take that look at that. That should just change this over here. We now have Django blog, which goes to the index page, and the feature doesn't go anywhere right now. Now we need to go ahead and change this over here. And for now, since we don't have any working like authentication yet, let's just put some placeholder stuff for now. So what we'll do is we'll just do a navbar.nav for the class here. And instead of a span, this will be a UL tag. So we'll change this to a UL. And we can add more links now inside of here. And this should be pushed to the right. So I'll add an li with a class of nav-item. And then inside the li, I'll go ahead and just add another link tag. So this link tag will look similar to this. So I'll go ahead and just grab this right here, copy it, paste it right there. And this will just be like sign out or something. And we'll save that. And then we have that link over there. Okay. So now, of course, we'll add more links in later, but for now, that gives us just kind of a placeholder for now for our authentication when we get to that in a little bit. And now we should have a good navbar to kind of get us started. Let's go ahead now and actually create all the authentication views so we can actually add in the rest of the links in our navbar. So to build out the authentication, what we want to do is we want to go into our users app here, and we'll go into our views.py and we'll create one view. So you may think we might need a view for login, for logging out, for registering, but Django comes with lots of built-in views that we'll take advantage of in here. So all we'll need to make is just a register view. The login, logout stuff will already be built in for us. So once again, we'll create a class-based view for this. We'll do a class register view. We want to inherit from our view class that we imported earlier. So we'll import it again up here from Django.views, import view. And this register class here will have two methods, def get, self and request, pass for now. And then we'll have a def post as well, self request. We'll put a pass in there for now. Okay, so what these functions are doing, in case I didn't explain it earlier, they are hitting the HTTP method that we're using. So if we send a get HTTP method request to this view, it will run the code inside the get method. If we send a post method request, it will run this post function down here. So that's all it's doing. So we're saying, during the get, we want to just go ahead and display the form for them to actually register the user, and the post will handle the logic for actually save the user in the database. Because the form will send back a post method request. Okay, so before we can really build these views, though, we need to create a form. And a Django form will allow us to set the fields that we want to have available to the user to fill out, and it will allow us to easily kind of match our model that we have built in. So Django has a built-in user model, and we'll use that to save these users. And so we can create a form that'll kind of match that up pretty nicely, and we can display that form here. But we need to go ahead and make that form first. And so inside the users app here, I'll create a new file. I'll save this as forms.py. And inside of forms.py, I will do a few things here. First, we want to go ahead and import forms. So from Django, import forms. I also want to go ahead and, sure I fill that correctly there. But I also want to make sure I import a few other things here. So we'll do from Django.contrib.auth.models, import user. And this is that built-in user model that we'll use. We also want to import something else here, Django.contrib.auth.forms, import user creation form. And this is a built-in form to create new users for this user model. So Django has that built in as well. And we'll use that for most of what we need, but we're going to make one small adjustment to that form. Next, I'll create a form by creating a class, user register form, and we'll inherit from our user creation form. And we want to add one field. So we can add a field that's just list them out here, give it a name equals something. In this case, we'll add an email field. And we can do this by doing forms.email field. Now I'll add an email field to this user register form. And we'll also have available all the form fields available in our user creation form, which will be like the username, the passwords, which we'll use those as well. Next, to actually set everything up, we need to create a meta class inside of here. And this is all in the documentation. If you want to go look at it there, you can see more details. But what we need to do is create a meta class and set a model being set to the user model. This is the model we want to save in the database, which is the model we imported up here. We also want to set the fields available for the user to fill out. And this will be a list of strings that match the field names. In this case, we want to add the username, which is built into the user creation form. We want the email, which is the field we added right up here. We also want to add in password 1 and password 2. And that, of course, is the password field, and then the confirm password field is password 2. Okay, and we save that, and that's all we need to create our form. So now with that done, we can go back to our views and actually use this form. What we will do here is in the get method, we will first create a new instance of that form. So do form equals user register form with just an empty constructor. And up at the top, of course, we'll import that from .forms import user creation form. And now that we have an empty instance of that form created, we can go ahead and just add it to our template and register and just render that template. So we can do a return render request. And we'll do users, since we're in our users app now. And this template name will be register.html. We'll create that here in a second. We want to add in one additional argument. This will be a dictionary with a key of form and a value of form. And what we're doing here is adding in what Django calls the context. These are variables that we can access inside of our form. And we can create these key value pairs where this is the variable name that'll be in our form, and this is the value that will actually be loaded when we use this variable name in our form. So by adding this form into the context, we can actually render the form in the template, which is what we'll need to do to make the form actually show. Okay, now with that done, let's go ahead and create this user's register HTML template, and then we'll create a URL and see if we can get it to load up correctly. So once again, I'll keep this in the default location. So inside the user's app here, I'm gonna create a new folder. I'm gonna call this templates. Inside templates, I'll create another folder, and I'll call this users. Inside of users here, I'll create a new file, and I'll save this as register.html. And we can go ahead and just import from the same base template. Even though it's a different app, it doesn't matter. We can still do extends, blog/base.html. And that template will work fine for our purposes here. And once again, we'll do a content block. Then we'll do our, block content. I got those mixed up. Block content. Then an end block content. Like that. And then what we can do is we'll just create a form, and we can just do 2 curly braces here. To show variables in the template, you need to put 2 curly braces. Instead of doing a template tag like we do down here, 2 curly braces will load in variables, which is what we need for our form. So I'll put our form inside this form tag. Now, of course, there's a few more things we want to add here. We want to add a method of post, and that way it will hit our post method down here when we actually submit it. But since we added a post method to our form, we need to add one more thing here as well. Otherwise, Django won't accept this. So I need to add another template tag here and do CSRF token. And that's a cross-site request forgery token, and just adds additional security to our form. So it's required in Django by default. So just add that line there, and it gives you a more secure form that way. Okay. Now, with that done, let's go ahead and add a URL and try to load this form up now. And once again, inside the user's app here, I'm going to just create a new file and save it as urls.py, and we'll add it to our root file. So we can jump into our root URLs. We can just copy what we have up here as a starting point, paste it there. We can delete this include, and we can clean up our imports up here. We don't need that. We don't need this admin import either. Delete all that. And this will go to, I guess, just /register, like that. And this will load our register view right in here. So we can import from .views, import register view. Register view. And because it's a class-based view, we need to do .as_view, like that. It'll give it a name of register. And we'll use that name later to create links to this page. Okay, now last step is to add this to our root URLs, include it down here. So we'll do a path of, I'll just do accounts, and we'll include users.urls. Okay. Now let's go ahead and try this out. So if I just refresh the page here and I go to /accounts/register, we were getting an error saying user register form is not defined. We forgot to import our form, it looks like. Maybe go back to our views. I put user creation form. I want to import user register form. And there we go. We loaded our form correctly. Of course, it looks terrible. We'll come back later and make it look more pretty. But we did correctly get the form loaded. So we do know all of our logic is working, which is good. We're able to correctly put our template using this variable, or put our form using this template variable into the actual HTML page, which is really nice. Okay, so now that we have that working, let's go ahead and just try adding in the post logic, testing the form out, make sure it works, and then we'll come back and make it look better. So back inside our views.py, we can add that logic here inside of the post method. So what we can do here is first we'll create a new instance of that form again. But this one will look slightly different. So do form equals user register form. But instead of an empty constructor, what we want to pass into the form is a request.post. So up here we have an unbounded form, which is just a form that has no data in it. It's just an empty form. In the get method, that works great because we just wanted to display the form for the first time so the user can actually fill it out. But when we have the post method, we already have data. We want to go ahead and take that data and actually save that data in the database. So we can create a bounded form, which means it's just bounded with data. And we can get that data by going into the request, which is an argument passed into this function, .post. And this will give us our post data. And the post data will just include all of the fields that we have here. So it'll be username, email, password 1, and password 2. We can take that data and we can save it in the database. So what we'll do now below this is we'll do if form.is_valid. We can do a form.save, and then we can do return redirect index. And I'll go ahead and import redirect up here. It comes from the same place as render, so we don't need to add anything new, just need to add it to that import right there. And there we go. Now we may want to go ahead and, if this is not valid, throw some error. But for now, just you can add that on your own if you want to. For this tutorial, just to keep it simple, we're not going to worry about that right now. But we can save the form in the database with this form.save, and we can go ahead and just redirect the page to a different page once it successfully saves the data in the database. In this case, we'll go to the index page. Let's go ahead and test this all out now. Back here, refresh the page. We'll create a new user. We'll call it test1, email being test1@example.com, password being any test password you want. And I did forget one thing though. There's no way to actually submit the form. You can see there's actually no button or anything. Nothing works to submit the form. Let's go and add that real quick, and then we'll do this one more time. I completely forgot to do that. So we need to actually add a button to submit it. So below this form variable here, I'll go ahead and just create a button with a class of btn-secondary, and it'll be a type of submit, and the text will just be sign up, and we'll close off the button tag there. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and try this one more time. Now we have the sign up button here. We'll go ahead and just do a new user again, test1@example.com. Add in any sort of testing password you want, and sign up, and it redirects us to the next page. Let's go ahead and see if this went to the correct page. So we'll log into the admin page with the user we created at the beginning. And we go into users. Now see we have this test1 user created, and all of the data we put in there is correct. So we correctly created a user using that form. So that part's all working great. Now the form doesn't look very good though, so we can go ahead and make that look better. Let's go back to that page real quick. Accounts/not login register. We can make that look better with something called Django Crispy Forms. So I'm gonna go and close out some of these links we don't need anymore. But if we go to Django Crispy Forms, you can see here what we can use to make this look a little better. Here is the user guide. I'll put the link in the description below. What we'll do first is follow the installation guide. So we'll grab this line here, pip install Django Crispy Forms. On my terminal here, I'll go ahead and stop my server for now. We'll paste in that line, run that. Clean this page out just to have more room. Okay, now with that in there, we need to add this to our installed apps. So we'll copy that. It's just crispy_forms. We can go back to our settings.py file, come up here and add it to this list right there, crispy forms. And then we need to go ahead and add a template pack. We're using Bootstrap 5, so we want to make sure we add a Bootstrap 5 template pack. This requires us to install this other thing right here. So we come here, I can do a pip install crispy Bootstrap 5 right here. And I come back here, I can just paste that in there, Control-Shift-V, enter, and install it like that. Let's go ahead and run our server one more time now. And then we can add this line right here, crispy Bootstrap 5. Let's go ahead and just copy that, add that right there. And then we also have two more lines down here. I'm going to copy those two lines, these allowed template packs and the crispy template pack. And then we can go down to the bottom here. We'll put it right down here. And then I'm going to go ahead and just change the double quotes here to single quotes just to keep it consistent with the rest of the file here. And we'll save that. Okay, now with that done, I should be able to use Django Crispy Forms to actually make these forms look better. So the way you can use this is a couple ways. To keep things simple, we're going to use the crispy filter. It's not the preferred way in the docs. There's a better way of doing it, but this is the easiest way to get started, to get some simple styles applied just to make it look a lot better. And so that's what we're going to use for now in this tutorial. What we can do is we can go inside of our registered HTML template and we can import something new here. So we can do a load tag. And we can load in crispy forms tags. And then on our form here, we can add a filter. A filter is a pipe, and this just applies some sort of value to the variable. In this case, we can add a crispy filter. There's a lot of different filters you can use in Django. In this tutorial, I don't think we'll really use many others. We might use a couple more later on. But in this case, this crispy will apply these styles to our form right here. Come back here, refresh the page here, and now you can see it looks much better already. Of course, it expands the whole page here because we didn't put all of our styles in yet, but you can see the form fields look a lot better, and these sort of helpful texts here looks a lot better as well. Let's go ahead and add some more styles to make this look and fit the page a little better. And so we'll go into our template and we'll add some more styles. And these are all Bootstrap styles, Bootstrap classes, I guess. I'm not going to go into too much detail on what they all actually do for now. I'll just do a general overview, but you can find the more information in the docs if you're unfamiliar with how all this works. First things first, let's go ahead and just type these out. So we have our two classes there, our form. We'll close off both these tags right here. And we'll fix our indents real quick. Okay. So we create a row class, and then we're creating a column of 11 units wide on small screens. So there'll be a small gap on left and right. It's 11 out of 12, so there'll be a small tiny gap left and right. On medium screens here, we're creating a 4, so it'll be much smaller and kind of not nearly going from one end of the page to the other. MX Auto will center it, and MX5 will add a small bit of padding on the top. Come back here, refresh the page. I didn't save the file. Let's save it first, and then come back here and refresh the page. And there we go. So now you can see we have the spacing here. It's much smaller on large screens. It doesn't go from one end of the page to the other, and it looks much better. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead now and add in the login and logout views, and then we should be able to update our navbar and have all of our user authentication stuff done. So like I said earlier, we don't actually need to create views for all of these. What we can do is just jump into our URLs and add a few more URLs here. So first we'll go ahead and add in a path for login. And this will use a built-in Django view. So we'll import that here at the top from django.contrib.auth. Import views as auth views. So we'll import whatever we have in this views file, which are built-in views. We'll import as auth views just to be clear that these are the built-in authentication views. And then we can access these views by doing auth views dot login view dot as underscore view. And then we can give it a name of login. Now, there's one more thing we can do here is inside of the constructor or inside the function arguments for as underscore view, what we can do is we can add a template underscore name equaling users/login.html. And now we can create a login.html file inside our users app, and it will load that for our login view right here. Let's go and do the same thing now for the log out. So if I come over here, and we'll create a new path. This will be log out. And once again, this will be auth views.logout view.as underscore view. We can give a template name equaling users/logout.html. And we'll give it a name as well, a name equaling log out. Okay, add our trailing comma there and save that. Okay, there we go. That all looks good. Let's go ahead now and create two new files. We'll save the login.html as well as the logout.html. And then just to get things kind of started, I'm going to copy in the register page. And actually, before we do anything else, let's add one more thing to the register page. Let's add some sort of header here. Let's do like H1 and just do like sign up or something. And let's just double check that. Just because like there's nothing here saying what this page actually is. Let's just put a little header there so we know what this is actually doing. But that should be good. Now let's go ahead and copy this page here. Let's put it inside of our login page to start. And we'll change this to sign in. The form will all look the same. The button will say sign in as well. And that should be it there. Then let's go into our log out and we'll create a new template there. I'll start with copying this again, although we won't need most of this here. Paste it in there. I'll delete this. And I'll delete the whole form here. We don't need any of that. And then I'll change this H1 to an H2. And I'll do just you have been logged out. This is just a page that just kind of like confirms you've been logged out, I guess. It just kind of tells you what happened. So it's just kind of like a confirmation page. So we'll say you have been logged out. And then below this, I'll create another div. Do a div with a class of a border dash top with a small amount of padding on the top as well with pt-3 here. And then inside of here, I'll create some small text. And I'll say, inside of here, I'll put an a tag with an href that goes to our login page. So once again, we'll do a template URL tag there. URL with login being the name. And then we'll do log in again. And on the small tag here, I'll add a class of text-muted as well. Okay. And that should be it for this page. And I think that should be it then. Let's go ahead and test these out real quick. So if I refresh the page here, so far so good. We will go to login. That's spelled wrong. Let's spell it correctly. Login. And there we go. We have a sign in page. And I can sign in with like my admin user. And we'll fix this redirect here in a second. This is the default redirect. We'll change that in a little bit. Let's go to account/logout now. You've been logged out. We click login again. It'll take us back to a login page. Okay, so that's all working great. Let's add one more thing to these sign-in pages though. Let's add, like I say, a little link here. It says like, don't have an account, click here to sign up. And then on the register page, it'll say already have an account, click here to sign in. We'll add those links as well. So let's go into the login page first. And below our form here, we can add that inside of a new div. So do a div with a class of pt-3 just to get added some spacing from the top. And then we'll add a small text here of a class of text-muted. And we'll do need and account, question mark. And then we'll add a link of a URL that goes to the register page. Add a class of ml-2 to add a little spacing on the left. And then we'll add some text of sign up. We'll close off the A tag and we'll close off the small tag, just like that. And we'll save that. Okay. And then we'll add the same sort of thing on the actually make sure we close off this div as well. But we'll go ahead and copy this link to add the same thing on the register page as well. So we'll copy that. We'll come over here and we'll paste that right there. And this will be login. This will be sign in. This will be already have an account, like that. Refresh the page here. And now it says need account, sign up. Already have an account, sign in, and they go back and forth to the correct links to sign in or out right there. Okay, perfect. So now we've tested our sign in, we've tested our sign up, and we've tested the log out. The last thing to do will be once we sign in, like test one, or we'll just use our admin account. It takes us to this bad page 404 not found. That's because the default redirect is to the wrong page. So we can fix that by going into our settings and updating a setting in here. So above these fields right here, I'm going to add a setting of login redirect URL. This will be equal to index. And now when it says, once we log in, where do we want to redirect to? We want to go ahead and just go back to the home page. So now if I go to login, and I add in my credentials, and now correctly takes us back to the index page instead of taking us to the that bad link that doesn't exist. Okay, perfect. So now we have all of our login functionality working. The next step is just to update our navbar so it correctly shows the correct link. So if we're logged in, we want to show just a sign out. If we're not logged in, we want to show a sign in and a sign up link over here. So that will change based off whether or not they're logged in or not. So let's go ahead and add that in next. Okay, so to update this navbar here, we can use some new template tags inside of our Django template. So just like how we use this type of syntax to get our form or get the CSRF token here, we can also use this syntax here to use an if statement. So inside of our navbar, we can check if the user is logged in, and if it is, we can go ahead and display something. And if it's not, they're not logged in, we can display something else. So just kind of a really basic conditional statement using the if syntax inside of the template. So if we go into blog templates, blog nav.html, and we go to come down here to where we have this second UL, and below this UL here, we can put our if statement. So we'll start with our template syntax, 2 curly braces, 2 % signs, and we'll do if request dot user dot is underscore authenticated. Now this request variable here that we're using, this comes built in by default into every template. So just like how we pass in the form into the context, this request is automatically passed in the context by default. So we don't have to worry about doing anything in our views to pass it in. It just automatically is there for us in every template. So in the request, this request object, we have the user, and the user, we can get all the user data, their username, their user ID, but we also have this is authenticated Boolean. And this will determine if they are authenticated or if they're not. And so if it's not a logged in user, this will be false. If there is a logged in user, this will be true. So if this is true, then we can go ahead and put our sign out button here. And if it's false, so I'll go below this LI for the sign out, that means there's not a logged in user. So we want to show them a link to sign up and a link to sign in. So just like we'd use if up here, we use else down here. And then we can put in 2 more LIs. So I'm gonna go ahead and just copy this one to give us a starting place right here, and one more. We'll go ahead and indent this in. We'll go ahead and indent this one in as well. And now inside of this one here, we want to do sign in and sign up. Okay. And then finally, one thing that's kind of unique to Django templates is we need to end this if statement. So down here at the end here, we need to go ahead and put one more template tag and do end if. So every time you do an if, you need to make sure you put an end if at the very end. In this case, after the else block. Okay, so we save that, come back here, refresh the page. Now, if I were to go to the sign out, account/log out, and then now you'll see our navbar now says sign in or sign up. So we have our links correctly changing if we're logged in or logged out, but right now they're not going anywhere. So let's go ahead and update them to actually go somewhere. So right here, we can do URL, and for sign out, this will be log out. For sign in, this will be log in. So we'll do a URL tag here as well, URL, and log in, and sign up. I believe I called that one register. So we'll go ahead and just do URL register. And just to kind of go over this one more time, instead of our URLs, or instead of our users' URLs down here, we put a name on every single one of these. Register, log in, log out. Those are the names we're using inside of our nav template here. Log in, log out, log in, register. Okay, so we save all those changes. We come back to the browser here, refresh the page. Now if I click sign in, it takes me to the sign in page. If I click sign up, it takes me to the sign up page. So now we can go ahead and go through the whole workflow real quick. So we can go log in with my user I created. And now if I click sign out, it then logs me out. I can click log in again. I can come back here, or I can go here and sign up again. Now that we have that kind of basic setup, we should be able to go ahead and build out our actual blog itself. Now, before we get started with that, there's one thing we need to do. We want to go ahead and create a super user so we can log into the admin page. Inside the admin page, I'm going to put a WYSIWYG editor to be able to edit the post and save line breaks and bold and add in lists and all those other sorts of things that we might need in a blog. And so all of the create and update sort of functionality will be in the admin page. So we need a user to be able to log into the admin page. And with Django, you can do Python 3 manage.py create super user. And it'll give you this thing to create super user. I'll create an admin user. We'll leave the email blank. We'll give them a password. One more time. And it's too common, but for this example, it's fine. And there we go. So now with that set up, I can run the server again, and I should be able to log into the admin page. Admin, I type in the password I gave it, and there we go. So let's go ahead and add a model, and then add that model to this admin page. So back inside of our app here, we're going to set up our models.py for a blog post. So I'm going to go ahead and create this class. I'm going to call it article, like a blog article, or you can call it blog post if you want. Either one would work. We'll inherit from models.model. And this will be just a very simple Django model. So we're going to have a few fields here. First, we'll have a title, and this will be a models.char field. And we'll do a max length equaling 255. And then we'll do a content field. And for this, we're going to use a thing called TinyMCE. So if we search for that, you'll see here this GitHub link right here. TinyMCE, open source rich text editor. And there's all sorts of things we could add to this and add different plugins. We're going to take just a very basic sort of default version for now. And if you want to take this further, you can look at these different customizations. You can see a full demo here if you want to check out kind of what the full sort of thing looks like. But for our example, we'll take just the basic default one we get just to get this project going. So come down here. We search for, I guess, TinyMCE Django. You'll find this Django TinyMCE documentation. And this will give us a way to easily put this TinyMCE rich text editor into our Django project. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this pip install line to install it. We'll come back here, and I'm going to stop the server real quick, and I'll paste this in and run that to install it. We'll rerun our server. And then we need to go ahead and add it to our installed apps and add the URLs to our urls.py. So back inside of our code, we go to settings.py, and we'll go down here and we'll add TinyMCE. And then we'll go copy this URLs line right here. Copy that. And we'll go into our blog app, into our urls.py, and we'll add it here as well. So now we have our TinyMCE paths there. And that should be all we need for a basic installation of this project. Oh, I forgot to import include though, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. Include, okay. And then if we come back to our models, we should be able to add an HTML field here. So we can do HTML field, which is the model field from TinyMCE. So from TinyMCE.models, import HTML field. And that will give us that rich text editor field that we can actually save our content into. Next, we'll add a date field. Date will equal models.date field. And then we want to go ahead and add an auto now add parameter set to true. And what this will do, this will automatically fill this date field with the current date. So we don't have to fill this manually in our field. It will just automatically fill it for us, since the date will just be when it was created. Author will be a user field. So we can do models.foreign key. And we'll put user, which we need to import here in a second. And then we'll do an on delete equaling models.cascade. Okay, so first things first, let's import that user model. So we'll from django.contrib.auth.models import user. And then we have this on delete field. And what this field is going to do, or this on delete parameter, and what this parameter is going to do, is going to say, okay, if we delete the user object, what do we want to do with all these authors? And we set it to models.cascade, which means it will also delete all of these as well. So if we delete the user, we'll delete all of these relationships to this user as well. So if we get rid of user, we'll lose all of our everything linked to that user as well. There's other options you can do. There's like a do nothing. There's like a do nothing. There's like a set null. You can look at the documentation if you want to see what they all do. But there's various different ones. In this case, we're gonna leave it just as cascade. It should work in our situation here. Okay, now that we have that field done, we also make sure we add a featured Boolean field as well. This will allow us to set whether it should or shouldn't be on the featured page. So we'll do a models.boolean field, add a Boolean field, and then we're at a default equaling the false. So don't click it, it'll just be false, and it won't show up on the page. And finally, we want a likes field, and this will hold the number of likes. So we go to the bottom of the page of a post and we hit that like the post button, and we'll add the user to this likes many field, and then we can use that to count it to get the total number of likes on that post. We'll do a models.many to many field. We're going to store the user, so we'll put the user, and then we'll add a related name equaling to likes. We'll save that. Okay. That's all we should need for our model. Next, we're going to go ahead and go to our admin.py file, and we want to add the article model to our admin site. So we'll do from.models import article, and we'll do admin.site.register article. And so this name, of course, should match this name for our model. Okay. Now let's go ahead and run Python manage.py make migrations. Oh, I put that in the wrong file. Let's go ahead and fix that. This should not be here. This should be in this one right here. Okay. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and run that again. Okay. Then we'll run Python manage.py migrate. And we'll run our server again. Now, when we refresh the admin page here, you'll now see we have this article field that shows up. Click add a new article. Now we get this page here. So you'll see here is we have a text field for our title, but then we have this rich text editor here to actually create the content, and we can put in bullet points, numbered lists. We can change the indentation. We can center content, right, left align, right align, justify. We can highlight things. We can underline or add italics or bold things and those sorts of things. So this gives us much more power to actually create a blog post this way. We can then set the author of the post, being any of our users. We can click or unclick the feature page, and then of course we could manually add likes here, or we can allow the users just to click it themselves, which we'll do later on. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create one simple blog post to get started. So I'll do a test blog post, and this one I'll do just some dummy lorem ipsum text here. If we click on this link, we can generate 5 paragraphs. I'll copy those paragraphs. I'll come back to my admin page here, paste it in here, and then just for fun, let's go and add a bullet point list here and do list item 1, list item 2, list item 3, just to put something in there as well. Okay, we'll set the user to be the test1 user. We won't check featured. We'll save that. Oh, so we have one error here. This field is required. Let's go ahead and change that so it's not required real quick. So back inside our models.py, we will do blank equals true on that field. We can stop the server. We can run makemigrations, and we can run migrate. And then we'll go ahead and run our server again. Now we'll come back here. I'm going to go ahead and just copy all of this. We're going to refresh the page here. Yes, continue. Oh, I must have saved it, I guess. Okay, so we should be good now. So now we can save the post. We don't have to actually add a likes now, which is good. But yeah, now we have our first post. So that's a good start. Let's go ahead and add one more post real quick, and this will be our featured post. That we have one of each to test. So add one more post here. I'll make it the same post. I'll just make a couple. We can change here the title. We'll do featured post 1. And then we'll make it test 1. Click on featured, and we'll save. Okay, so now we have 2 posts saved. Now we can start building out the rest of the site, and then we can see what it all looks like when we actually show those posts. So what we need to do is we want to go ahead and create a list view to list our posts on this page. We'll add pagination as well. And then our featured page right now doesn't go anywhere, but it's going to be the same, a page almost the same as this, except we're going to check for that featured equals true Boolean field. So let's go ahead and get started with the index page. So right now we go into our views.py. We have this just generic view for the index page. We're going to change this now to a list view and actually list out our posts. So we can import list view up here. So we can do from Django.views.generic import list view. Now instead of inheriting from view, we'll inherit from list view. We can delete this get method. Now the kind of logic for this page is it should show all the posts, whether or not it should show all the posts, even if they are not checked as featured, or if they are checked as featured, it doesn't really matter. They should all show up here. So what we can do is we can just set a model equal to article, show that we want to use the article model for this list view. And then we'll need to go and create a query set. So we do a query set equals, and we'll do article dot objects dot all. And since we don't care about any sort of Boolean field in this one, we can use .all just to get all the posts. And then finally, we'll do an order by, and this will order it by a certain field. And we'll do -date to put the newest on the top and the oldest last. That way it's newest first. And next, we want to go ahead and add a template name. So a template name, and this will be equal to blog/index.html. This will be the template we created. We need to update it now to show these posts, but we can reuse that template. And for now, that is everything we need. Let's go ahead and import from models, import article. But for now, that's a really basic thing what we need. Let's go ahead now and update our index page to actually show these posts now with this new view. So we go to our index page here. Right now, it's just this really empty page. We're gonna add a bunch more stuff here. And I'm gonna use a lot of Bootstrap styles. I'm not gonna go in depth on what they do just because this video is more about Django, less on the styles. If you want more videos on that, I can go over that in a different video. But for now, I'll just follow these. And if you wanna go look on the styles up in the documentation, you can go do so. And I'll put a link to that in the description. Okay, so we'll create a row and a column. Call them the MD-6, which will take it have the screen size on medium screens. -12 will make it full width on mobile screens. Then we'll do mx-md-auto to center it on medium screens. Then we'll do a margin top of 5 and a margin bottom of 5 as well. Okay, and now inside this div here, what I want to do is just put like a little title. So I'm going to do just like an H1 with a class of fw-folder. Make it a little thicker of a font size. We'll do Django blog. Then we'll add a little subtitle as well, make an H5 with a class of text-muted. Then we can add a blog about Django and Python. And close off that H5. Okay, so now we should have this very simple header. Come back to our page here, refresh the page, and there we go. So now we have this simple header. And if we go on mobile screens, it then fits here. Let's go ahead and just add a little padding on the left and right. So we'll do mx-3 maybe. We'll save that. That looks a little better. Okay. Okay. Now we have our header. We can go ahead and list out our posts now. So we'll go back to code here. This will go in a new row. So we'll put this in a row below the current one here. And we'll create another column here. So we'll do a class of column-md-6, same size as before. Actually, I'm going to copy this class line because it's going to be exactly the same. And we'll put it right there. Okay. Now inside this class, we can go ahead and list out all of our posts. Now, how do we list out all our posts? Well, let's take a look at our view again. So we go back to our views.py. We're doing a query set that gets all the posts. We'll have multiple posts. So we need to loop through all of our posts and list them all out on our index page. So what we'll do here to do that is we go to our index.html. We want to wrap this entire row here in a for loop. That way, every post gets its own row. That way we kind of list them all out, kind of like stacked on top of each other. So up at the top here, I'll do for object in object list. I'll do an in for down here. And then inside of this column right here, I'm going to create H3 as the post header. We'll put a class of fw-bold. And then we'll do object.title. We'll close off that. Next, we'll do a p tag with a class of text-muted. I'm going to show the date right here. So I'll do object.date. And real quick, just to go over this in case this part is not too familiar with you, we'll create a for loop here for object and object list. Object list is the default name in a list view. So by default, it will be set this name. You can override it, but in this example, we're not doing that. So we'll do for object and object list. So every iteration of this loop will create a variable called object that will store the current post that we're displaying. And from there, we can do, dot any field name to get the field name. So we get the title, we get the date, and so on and so forth. So that's what we're doing here. Next, I'm going to go ahead and put the author name. So we'll do posted by space, and then once again, just like we did before, to put in variable names, 2 curly braces. Then we'll do object.author, and we'll do .username to get the actual username of that author. Since this is a foreign key field, this is also another object that we can get properties off of. So we get the username property off this author. Okay. And we'll go ahead and close off that one there. Next, we want to write a little bit of logic to count the likes just to show the correct grammar. So I'm going to add an if statement right here. Do if object dot likes dot count is equal to 1. Then I'm going to go ahead and create a p tag here, the class of text dash muted again, and I'll do object dot likes dot count person likes this post. So we have one post. We want to say person likes this post. One person likes this post. But if we have more than one, we'll say, 3 people like this post, just to get the correct grammar for depending on the number of people who like it. So then we'll need to do an else clause for if there's more than one person who likes it. We'll do a p tag with a class of text dash muted once again, and then 2 curly braces to put in a variable name, object.likes.count. And .count is a built-in method here on the many fields. We can use that by default just to count the number of items inside of there. And then we'll do people like this post. Okay, and we'll save that. And then we'll need to make sure we put our in for. Every time we have a if statement, we need to put in if. Okay, now with that done, let's go and just check it out real quick and see what it looks like. Okay, there we go. So now we have our post name, we have our date, username, and number of people who like the post. 0 people like this post. No one liked it so far. Okay, that looks good. Next, let's go ahead and put like a little preview right here of the post. And so we want to limit the amount of words they can show. We don't want to show the entire post, just a little section of it. We want to put it right in here. So what we can do for that is we can go after this end if. We can create a div with a class of margin y -3 just to give it a little more spacing around the rest of the content. And now inside this div here, we're going to put in a variable. Now this will require a couple filters. So what we'll do here is we'll do object.content, which is that HTML field that holds all of our content. But then we're going to add a filter. So add a pipe character, and we're going to do truncate words _HTML, set that to 50. And then we'll put one more pipe character and we'll do save. So before I actually do this, I'm going to delete the save. I'm going to save this and see what this looks like. So you'll see here, we're putting the text in just literally how it is. So these p tags are not actually creating a p tag element on our HTML. The way we can actually make it run this HTML is if we add the safe filter. Now with that save filter, I refresh the page, those go away, and this creates an actual p tag element on the page. That way if there's like bolding in here or something else, it will still show that on this preview. And then the truncate words, of course, as this ellipsis at the end, once we hit that certain number of words, in our case, we set it to 50 words. So as soon as we hit 50 words, we will put those ellipses and won't show any more of the post, just as a little preview. Okay, now outside of this div here, we want to add one more thing here. We want a link so they can go and actually see the full post. So we'll add an A with an href. And since I haven't made this page yet, I'm going to put just a pound sign for now. We'll come back later and actually make that page. I'll just type in read more just as the kind of text here. Come back here, refresh the page. And now we get this little read more button. You'll see here on mobile, it still looks fine. We could maybe use a little more spacing right here, but for now, that looks fine to me. Okay, perfect. Now we have a very basic sort of page here. We're going to add one more thing to this page, and this page should be done, and that is pagination. So right now, I can make 100 posts, and they'd all show up here on the same page. But it would be much better if we had a way to kind of go to the next page and the next page instead of having to just read them all, just keep scrolling to read them all. And so luckily, Django has some built-in tools to make this super, super easy. If we go back to our code and go into our views.py, we need to add one more thing to our view here. And what that is paginate _by equaling 2. And now, since we only have 2 posts, this won't do anything. So I'm going to set this to 1 for now. Back here, refresh the page. And now we only get 1 post. So that works well, but we want to have a way to actually go see the next post. And so what we can do is we can add some pagination to our template. So go back to our index.html. And then outside of all this stuff here, outside this for loop, I can go ahead and put some pagination here. So I'm going to create a nav for this. And then I'm going to create an unordered list with a class of pagination. We'll close off that UL. And instead of here, I will put a div with a class of mx-auto to center it, d-flex to make it a flex box, flex-row to make it all kind of like in one single row from left to right. And we'll do a margin top -5 to add a little spacing to the top of that page. Okay. Next step is going to be a little confusing, but we need to put some if statements in to check some things. So we'll put an if statement right here, and we'll check if page obj.has_previous. And once again, this page obj is built into the view automatically. So by setting this up, we already have access to this. There's nothing else we need to do for that. But then we're going to check if it has a previous page. If it does, then we want to show a button to go to the first page and a button to go to the previous page. So inside this if statement here, we will do an li with a class of page-item. We want an a tag inside of here. And this will have a class of page link. And then we'll add an href to this as well, href. And this href will go to, this is the first page link, so we can just do $page equaling 1. That'll take us to the first page. Then let's go ahead and add this character. So we'll do and sign, LAQUO, with a semicolon. We'll do first. We'll close off that a tag. And then we have our li closed off already. Okay, and we'll save that. Let's take a look at this real quick. Oh, I forgot to close off my if statement here. So right here, let's do end if. Okay, go back here, refresh the page. And right now, nothing happened because we are on our first page. And since we're on the first page, there's no previous page, so that if statement is not going to run. But if we go to page equaling 2, we now are on our second page, and you'll see here we have this first to go back a page. And we have this little character here, these little 2 arrows. That is what this thing right here is doing. So in case you're not familiar with this, that will put those 2 little arrows to go to the first page. Click on it, and then it takes us back to the first page with this first test blog post. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and keep going now. So below the if statement there, I want to go ahead and just put the actual page number that we're currently on and show the total number of page numbers. So down here, I'll just do an li, a class of page-item. Then we'll add inside of here, close that off, go inside of here, do an a tag with a class of page-link. And then we'll go ahead and just do an href. I'm not going to make this href go anywhere, so I'll just put an empty pound sign. But then we want to do page, get the current page number, page obj dot number to get the current page number. Then we want to go ahead and put a space of, and then a total number of pages. So we'll do page obj dot paginator dot num underscore pages. And we'll add a period at the very end here. And then we'll close off that a tag. We'll save that. There we go. So now we'll have this page 1 of 2 to show we're on the first page right now. And then of course we go to second page. We'll say page 2 of 2 with the first button to go back to the first page. And this doesn't really go anywhere because we're just clicking on the current page number. Okay, that was good. Let's go ahead and keep going. So now we want to add in is another if statement, and we'll do the opposite of this one up here. So instead of checking if there's a previous, we'll check if there's a next page. And then we'll add, of course, our last button and a next button. So right here, I'll go ahead and add an if statement. If page underscore obj dot has underscore next. Then we'll do an li with a class of page-item. And we'll close off that li. And then we'll add an a tag with a class of page-link. And then we'll add an href on this as well. And we'll add a question mark page equals. We'll add a page obj.next page number. Then we'll close off that with 2 curly braces to put that variable in there. And then we'll go ahead and just add the next text and then close off the a tag and the li. Okay, So this is working the same way as the other one did. By putting question mark page, we'll add this parameter that goes to a certain page number. And once again, we use two curly braces to put in a variable inside of a Django template. Get the page object, the built-in object available, and the next page number, which should be one more than the current page. And clicking on this next button will then take us to that page. That's what we're doing there. Go ahead and add in one more of these LIs, and this one will be for the last page. So do page-item. Then we'll do an A tag. And then A tag with a class of page-link. Then we'll do an href, and we'll do a question mark page equals two clear braces to put in a variable. And we'll do page object, once again, obj.paginator num pages. So we can just get the total number of pages, and that will be our last page. So we can just go get that off of this object here, which has this object, and then has a num pages value, which is the total number of pages based off the number of posts we have to show. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and do a last, and then once again we'll add in another of these icons here. So do and raquo with a semicolon. We'll close off the A tag and the li, save that. We'll come back here, refresh the page. I forgot to close off the if statement again. It's super easy to forget about this. I'm gonna make sure we close off this if statement right here. So we'll do an end if. Okay, we'll come back here, refresh the page, and there we go. So now on the first page, we have this next button, which takes us to the second page. We also have this last button, which in this case will take us just to the second page again, because that is the last page. But now we do have a little basic pagination working here, where we can click next and previous to kind of move around, and first and those sorts of things to move around. Although I did forget to add the previous link here, I guess. So let's go ahead and add that in real quick. So just like if you look at our page here, we have this next and last. I should have a first and previous as well. I forgot the previous. So let's add that in right here. This will go inside of this if statement here, because we only want to show this if the page has a previous page to actually show. But we can add another li, and this will look exactly the same. Page-item as the class. Close off the li right there. Inside of the li, we'll add an anchor tag with a class of page-link. Add an href, and we'll set this to question mark page equals, once again, to add in our page URL parameter, and we'll do page underscore obj dot previous page number. So just kind of the same sort of syntax right there. Then we'll add previous, close off the A tag. Okay. Now we come back here. We should also have a previous button as well. There we go. We click on the previous. It takes us back to the previous page. Okay, perfect. So now we have our pagination all working. So now this home page here is really just done now. What we need to do now is actually show it by clicking this read more button. So what we can do for that is we'll create another view, another template, and then actually show it in that template there. So I'll come down here, I'll create a new class, and I'll call this one just detail article. So do class detail article, and I'll do view, I guess. And we'll inherit from detail view, which we need to import. This is another generic view. So we have a list view to show a bunch of objects in a list, and we have a detail view to view one with a primary key. So the URL pattern would be something, like int :pk, maybe something like, I guess, like post / int :pk to go to one at a specific ID right here. So this is kind of what it is set up to handle, is like a kind of a primary key being passed in as the ID of the item we want to view. So that's how we'll set this up in this view here. So this, once again, doesn't need a whole lot of a basic setup. We just do a model equal article, and then we'll do a template name once again to blog / blog post .html. Okay, and for our basic setup, that should be good. We'll come back and add some more of this stuff later, but for now, that should be enough to get us started. Next, we need to go ahead and build out this template, as well as add the URL. Let's go ahead and add the URL first, though. So we go to our blog, should be blog /urls.py. Make sure in the correct app here. And then we'll add a new one here for a detail view. So we'll do a path. This will be, the path will be just kind of like what we said before, int::pk to go to a specific page here. And that's it. And then we'll add our detail view. So we need to import that up here. Article, or I guess it was detail article view. We'll put that here, detail article view .as underscore view. We'll do a name equaling detailed article. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead now and jump back into our templates. We'll make a new file and we'll save this as blog post.html. Make sure it matches what we put inside of our view here. So right here, blog underscore post.html. Okay. Okay, so now of course we'll need to start by extending our base template. So we'll do extends and then do blog/base.html. And then below here, we can go ahead and create our content block. We'll put all of our stuff inside of here, like we did for other templates. So block content, do in block content, and then we'll create a row for like a little back button first. So we'll just do a div of the class of row. Close that off, and then we'll do a div with a class of column-md-4, which will take it up like a third of the page on medium screens, and column-12 make it take up 100% of the page, 100% of the width of the page on small screens. Add some margin on the x-axis, add a little bit of margin on the top as well. And then inside of this div here, I will add a link with the class of btn and then btn outline secondary, to give us our button color that we're looking for. And then we'll add an href set to the index page. So we can get that with our URL template tag, URL with quotes here of index to go to the page that's named index. And then we'll add our go back button and we'll close off that link there. Okay, let's go and take a look at this. Actually, let's go ahead and let's actually make the link work to go to this page now. That way we can actually click on the link and just go straight there. So back in our index.html, where we have this read more, right now it's just this anchor tag, or this pound sign here. If you look at our URLs, we gave this the name of detail article. So I go ahead and just copy that name, come back to our index page here, and remove this and use that same URL template tag, URL, and in quotes, put in detail article. And then we also need to make sure we add in the primary key. Because if you look at this URL here, we're expecting this one right here. We're expecting a primary key. So if we don't put a primary key in, this is not going to work. We can try it, and it just won't work. So if we come back here, I'll just do a file save all. We come back here, refresh the page. We get an error because it's saying detail article with no arguments found, or reverse for detail article with no arguments not found. It's looking for an argument. We didn't give it any arguments, so it's saying that this URL without any arguments is not found anywhere. So what we need to do is just add in an argument to this template tag here, and all we need to do is put a space and do object.id to then get the primary key for this object and put it in this URL path. Now with that done, we hit refresh, we hit view more, and now it comes back and loads that detail view. We can see up here in the browser /1, which is the URL or the primary key for this first post object. Then we have this little go back button. This is with our primary secondary color. So this allows us to go back to this page here. And we go back and forth with these two buttons. Okay, let's go ahead and keep it going now. So now below that, we can go ahead and add in another row. So down here we'll do a div with a class of row. We'll close off that. And then here we'll do a div with a class of column-md-6, column-12, mx-md-auto, a little bit of margin on the bottom, and then we'll do a padding bottom-2. And I'm actually going to go ahead and add an mx-3. So on small screens, we have a slight bit of padding there as well. Okay, we'll close off that div right there. And now let's go ahead and add in our details for this article. So first we'll have an H1. Don't need any classes on this. All we're going to do is put in the title right here. So let's do object.title. Okay, and then we'll come down here and we'll do a paragraph tag with a class of text-muted. And then we'll go ahead and just do object.date. Put in the date of the article. So this will look kind of similar to what we saw before, just kind of listing out the different pieces. So we'll add a class here of text-muted, and this will show just the posted by like we did in the previous page there on our index page. So we'll do posted by, and then we'll put in a, oh, actually no, remove these curly braces here. This is just posted by, and then a space, and then curly braces. And then this will be object.author.username. Okay, and now below this, we want to go ahead and actually put the entire content. So we go back to our index page real quick. What we did here was we did object.content. We pass in truncated words to shorten it, and then pass in safe. But now, since we want to show this whole content, all we need to do is put this safe filter. We can leave out this truncated words one off. So right down here, I can just put another div right here. And then inside this div here, we'll add that in. So we'll add object.content with a pipe with a filter of safe, like that. And that should be it for our contents. Now we come back here, refresh the page. Now we have all of our content here, and we have our list showing up as a list. And so everything looks good. We have our full post, and we maintain all of our white space and everything as we put it into this page. So everything there looks good. And of course, we can look at the next one as well. It should be about the same, but that one works fine as well. Okay, so now that we have all that done, we have our kind of our post looking good. The only thing we're missing now is just the like post functionality. This will be a little complicated, but I'll try to walk through it step by step, and hopefully that will help make it make sense to you. So what we need to do is we'll need to create a new view to handle the logic of actually adding a like to the post. And then we'll need to create a form at the bottom of this page. So that button that you saw in the kind of intro to this video was actually in a form. So when we click that button, it will submit the form as a post request to that view. And then we can actually run that logic to update it and then just refresh the page and then show the updated number of likes on this page. And then we can go ahead and just add some more logic that if they're already in the liked list, if you like it again, it will unlike it. That way we can kind of get a way to kind of toggle it on or off like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the view itself. So we go back to our code here and we go into our views.py. We'll need to add another view. So I'll just add a class and we'll call it like article. And this will inherit from our generic view. So we'll use that generic view class we used as an example for the index page first. And in that example, we use a get method. In this example, all we need is a post method. Do post self request PK. And this PK here will just be the primary key of the article we want to add the like to. So that will go there. Next, we want to go ahead and walk through the logic to either add or remove a like to the article. The first step is to actually get the article. So we'll get the article by doing article.objects.get, then we can pass an ID equaling that primary key. So this will be passed automatically too, by the way, so we don't need to worry about this. This will come from the URL that we send it to. But with that PK set there, this article value will now have that article that we want to add a like to. Then what we can do is check if it's already been liked by this user. So if article.likes.filter, then we can do PK equaling self.request.user.id. So what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, of the likes on the article, we're going to filter it and look for a primary key set to the currently logged in user. Because if you remember from our models.py here, this likes many field is holding user objects. It's going to hold the actual user who liked it. So if that logged in users, if their PK is in that list already, we know they've already liked the post. And we can check if it exists by just doing if that exists here at the end. So the final line here looks like a filter line right here to check to filter out anything that matches this query here, which is if the primary key is equal to the self.request.user.id. And then if .exists, which will return true or false, if it returns true, that means this filter has an object in there. If not, it will be false. Okay, so now if it is true there, then we want to go ahead and just remove the like. So we'll do an article .likes.remove. And we can do request.user.id. We're just grabbing that primary key and removing it from the many field. Then we can add an else branch here, and we'll say, okay, so if it's not in there, then we want to go ahead and just add them to that the likes list. So we can do article.likes.add request.user.id. Also, just a quick side note here: these functions remove and add are built-in functions on a many field. So as long as we're using a many field instead of our models.py, you will have access to these remove and add functions to update the many field. Okay, but that is all we need to update the likes value or the likes field. Next, we need to go ahead and just save the article and then just return a redirect. So we'll do an article.save to save that article, and then finally we can do return redirect detail article, and that should be in quotes, detail article, and it'll pass in the primary key of this article. So all this is doing is redirecting back to the same page. It'll just refresh it and update the likes. That's all we're doing there. Okay, we'll save that. And that there looks good. The next thing we want to do is actually add the URL that we can call to actually run this logic. So back inside of our urls.py, urls.py right there, we can add another path, and we can do, we'll make the path go to int::pk/like. So it's just a route that'll take the article ID and do /like, then like that article with the currently logged in user. Okay, there we go. Then we want to go ahead and import our like article view that we created, like article, and we'll come down here and we'll do like article.adds_view. I have a name, and we'll set this equal to like underscore article. Okay, so now we should be able to call the primary key number /like, and it should then either like or unlike the post, depending on if the user has already liked it. Okay, now the next step is actually show this in our template so we can actually interact with it. So let's go back to our blog post HTML, our detail page, and we'll come down here and we'll add this logic. So this should go at the bottom of the current row. Yeah, so right here, we want this in a new row that'll go at the bottom of the page. And so what we'll do is we'll do a div, and we'll do a class on this div. This will be row and then margin y-3 just to give us a little more space on the top and bottom away from the article. Then we'll go ahead and do a div with a class of column-md-6 once again. So on medium screens to take up half the screen width. Then we'll do column-12 on small screens to take up the entire width. Do an mx-auto, so on medium screens it centers it. We'll also do an mx, actually let's do mx-md-auto. Then we'll do an mx-3, that way on small screens it's not all the way up against the screen width, and that should be it. Okay, now we'll go and close off that div right there. Now inside this div, the first thing we want to put is just a little thing that shows the currently number of liked users on this post. Like how many likes does this post currently have? So we can add that here with object.likes.count. We can do people like this post. Now, of course, if there's only one person, this will cause a problem. So let's go ahead and update the logic to actually match what we put elsewhere in our file. So right here, I'm going to copy this if and else branch right here. So what this is doing is saying, okay, if the count equals 1, we'll say one person likes this post instead of one people. That wouldn't really sound right. And if it's more than 1 or 0, we'll put people. So let's go ahead and just copy that logic. Let's come back here and put that right here. So now you can see this matches up exactly likes object.likes.count. So this should still all work the same. So we should be able to just delete this line, and then this all should still line up like that. Let's just fix these indents real quick. Okay. And let's go ahead and just remove these class.muted styles as well. So let's delete that, and then we'll delete this one here as well. Okay. So now we're just going to show the number of likes first, how many people are currently like the post. And then we want to show this little button. If there's a logged in user, we want to show a button that allows them to click it. That will submit a form to that URL to actually like the post. So first we want to check if they're logged in. So we'll do an if statement here. And Django has a built-in way of doing this. We did it already with our navbar. So just if request dot user dot is underscore authenticated. If that's comes back true, we know we have a logged in user. And next we want to check if there is if this user has already liked the post. And now we could probably do this in our template, but the easiest way to do this would be to update our detail view to have another piece of context available to us that a variable that will come back true or false if this user is already inside of the many field. So let's go ahead and jump back into our views.py and we'll add that real quick. So in our detail article view, let's just update the context to have a liked by user thing that we can check to see if this has already been liked by the user. And luckily Django has a built-in way of doing this. So we can call a function of get context data. We can pass in self star args star quargs. And then we can go ahead and first call the super function. So do context equals super of detail article view, passing in self dot get context data, passing in star args and star quargs. This will just get our context up to this point. Everything else we already have and put it in there. And that way we still have access to our object list, and those sort of things. Or not the object list, I guess, in this case, only the object. Then we can go ahead and just update the context and add any additional pieces to it. So in this case, we'll do context. We'll do liked by user. And this will be set as default to false. Then we can check an if statement to see if this user is in that liked list, which will look exactly like this if statement right here. So we can go and just copy that. Because what this is doing is checking if this article, if the likes in the article, if the PK of one of the likes is equal to the logged in user, then we know this user is inside of that list. So our logic here will be exactly the same. Now, in this context function here, we don't actually have access to the article yet. We need this line as well. We need to actually get the current article as well. So we'll copy that and we'll paste that right above the if statement. But we need one more change here. You'll notice this post method has a PK object here, as a PK argument here that we use to get the primary key, but nowhere in here or in here is there a PK value. So what we'll do instead of PK is we'll do self.quargs.get PK, because where this PK value is actually located is inside of star quargs. So we can also get the primary key this way as well. Okay, so now if we know they're already inside this list, we can return true, and if not, we can just return the context because our default value is already false, so we don't need to do anything else. So that's just a quick way to check to see if that user has already liked this post or not. Now we can set up our next if statement here inside of our template. So we want to check if the user has already liked the post or not. If they have, we'll show them an unlike or dislike button. And if they haven't, we'll show them a like button, just kind of show them what they're doing when they click on the button. Since inside of our logic for this like article, we kind of just set it to toggle the current state of that user in the list. So they'll either add it to the list or remove it depending on what's there. So we want to make sure our template kind of makes that clear for the user. Okay, so back inside of our blog post, we can then add an if statement inside of this if statement. So we'll do if liked by user. And this is kind of confusing. I'll walk through this whole logic here one more time once I get it all written out to hopefully help clear anything up. But we'll have an if.liked user to show a like button. Then we'll have an else to show we'll have an if liked by user to show a dislike or unlike button. And then we'll have an else to show the like button if they haven't liked the post yet. Then we're going to close off this if statement right here. So we'll do end if. And then if they're not logged in, the final step here, if they're not logged in, we want to go ahead and just show them like a button that says log in to like the post. Let them know they have to be logged in to like this post. And that will go in this else statement right here. And then we'll end off this right here with an end if. Okay, so let's go ahead and start putting all those pieces together. Let's go ahead and skip this middle part and just put the login for now, and we'll test that, and we'll come back and check the log, the actual liking function to make sure that all works. So in this else statement here, we'll put a little button that says login if you want to like this post. So we'll do a class of btn-outline-primary to put our styles on the button. Then we'll add a disabled field or a disabled what do we want to call it here, parameter on this HTML element or property, I guess. That way they can't actually click it, doesn't actually do anything. And then we want to go ahead and add some icons, but for now, let's just put login to like this post. And we'll add off and we'll close off the button tag right there. So now if I come back here, refresh this page, this says 0 people like this post, there's no button. But if we sign out and we go back to our blog, read more, now says log in to like this post. And this button looks fine, but at the end here, I'm gonna come back and add a little heart icon just to make this look a little better. But you can see here's a button and we can't click on it because it's disabled. So it just says, hey, if you want to like this post, you need to log in. Okay, let's go ahead and sign back in. And we'll jump back here. Now let's go ahead and add a like or unlike button below this text here. So that will go inside this block right here. So if you have this if liked by user, so if the user has already liked this post, then we want to show a like unlike button. So this will be the unlike button inside this first if statement here. So like I said before, we need to have a form that sends a post request to our new like article view at that URL. So let's create a form. Put a method of post to hit that get method or hit that post method, because you look at our views.py, this like article view has a def post method. So this method will only be called if we send a post request in our form. Okay, back into our template here. You also want to go ahead and tell it where to go to, because by default it will just send it back to this URL here, which is not the correct URL. We need to go to a different URL. So we can set the URL that it will send this request to by using the action option available to us in HTML template and in HTML forms. And then of course we can use our simple URL syntax we used before, URL, and then we'll do like underscore article, which if you check in our URLs, that should match right here, like underscore article, there it is. And then of course we need to pass in our primary key as well. And we have access to this object in our template. So we can do object.pk or ID. Either one should work, but we'll do ID. Okay, now let's go ahead and close off this form and we'll put our button inside of here. Now, before we put any actual button, since we're sending a post request in a form, we need to add our CSRF token. So we'll do another tag here and let's do CSRF underscore token to pass the Django security standard it's going to set for us. Otherwise, I'll throw an error. Okay, next we'll put our button and we'll do a class of btn-outline-primary. And then inside the text here, we'll do unlike this post. And then we'll close off our button tag right there. Now, if I come back here, refresh the page, nothing happens because we haven't liked it yet. So let's go ahead and add our like button, and then we should be able to test this out. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this actually, because it's going to be very, very similar. And actually, it might be exactly the same, really, except for the text inside the button. So we'll paste that right there. And then we'll change this unlike this post to like this post. And we'll save that. And then we'll come back here, refresh the page. And now we get a button that says like this post. We click on it. We get an error. Redirect is not defined. I forgot to import redirect. So real quickly, we'll go back to our views.py. And for this line here, return redirect. I did not import that. And that will just come from our Django.shortcuts, the same function that, or the same place our render function comes from. We will have redirect there as well. Let's save that. Let's come back. Let's go back to our index page and let's try this one more time. So we'll go to read more. We'll scroll down context must be a dict rather than a bool. Okay, so it doesn't like our type of our context. Let's take a look at what I typed in there, and maybe there's a mistake somewhere. Oh, so I returned true down here in this line right here. This should return context liked by user equals true, not just true itself. So we copy this, come back here and put that there, equals true. That's what it should say. That was just a typo on my part. The context, we want to return the actual context option, the actual context dictionary, not just the Boolean of true. So that was just my mistake there. I wasn't really paying attention there, so we'll fix that. Come back here, refresh the page. So we might be having another issue. Let's check our terminal. Return. Okay, this is okay. A little messed up here. That should just be context instead equals true. Then we'll return our context. That should be good there. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, there we go. So now it says one person likes this post because we already liked it. We can hit unlike post, and then it unlikes the post. Now 0 people like this post, like it. One person likes it, unlike. Okay, so that's all working good. Real quickly, let's go over this context data because I kind of made a few mistakes there. First, we're going to get the previous context data set by this generic view by default using this super and get context data. Then we're setting a new value inside of there being liked by user equals the false. Then we're going to get our article using this articles.objects.get, and then we can get our primary key of the article that we're on using the quargs and .get to get the primary key out of there. Then we're checking if the user's already liked the post. And then we'll set, if they have liked the post, we'll set that context value we created, this liked by user equals to true. Then we'll go ahead and return that context. So that's what we're doing there. And then also real quickly, let's go over the logic for showing these different buttons inside the blog post one more time. So first we're checking if they're logged in. If they're not, we'll skip all of this and go straight down here to this block right here. And then we'll just show login to like this post. That way, if they're not logged in, they can't like the post if they're not logged in. So we have to make sure we catch that before we actually allow them to try to like it. Then we'll check if they've already liked it. And this will return true if they have already liked it. If it returns true, then we'll show this form that shows unlike the post. And then clicking that will then remove their like from that many field for that article. If that returns false, we'll skip this block here. We'll go down to this else block, and then we'll give them a button to actually like the post. And that will add their user to the liked users in the many field. So that's all we're doing here. Hopefully that makes sense with how that's all set up. Okay, that covers most of what we wanted to do. One thing we're still missing though is we're missing our featured page. So that should be pretty easy to make. Let's go ahead and just do that real quick. So inside of our views here, we want to just create another list view, but then just add one sort of filter on it to only show the ones that have the featured box marked as true. So to get this started, I'm going to go and just copy my index page, my index view, because it's going to be almost the same. We'll paste it right there. We'll rename this to be like featured or something. And then we'll do model article query set. Now query set is where we'll make a change at. So instead of .all, we want to do .filter. And then inside the filter, we can just do featured equals true. So if that box is checked, feature will be set to true. And then we know we can show this post. And then instead of showing this index.html, we'll show a featured.html. And we'll paginate it by 1 for now, just for testing purposes. And then we'll go ahead and create a new file in here, and we'll save this as featured.html. I'm going to go ahead and copy my index page, and we're going to paste it in there. And we'll just change this header here, I guess. So instead of saying Django blog, we'll just say like featured post. And we'll say like something like take a look at the featured post. Okay, and now we need to go ahead and add the URL. So we'll go back down to our blog post URLs, and we'll add another one here. First, before I forget, let's go ahead and import featured. So you have that there, and then we'll add the path right here. So we'll add a path, and this will go to featured with the trailing slash. And we'll do featured.as_view, and then just add a name equaling featured. Like that. Okay. Now, last thing we want to do we want to go to our navbar and update this link up here. So right now it's just dead link. There's nothing going there. Instead, we want to go ahead and put our curly braces, 2% signs, and then we will do URL and we'll do featured. Okay. Now come back here, back to our home page, click featured, and we're getting one error here. What did I forget to do? Let's see here. Let's go back to my URLs. Oh, I didn't put the parentheses around our as view. So let's go ahead and make sure we have the parentheses there so we can call that function. We'll come back here and refresh the page, and there we go. Okay, so now we see featured post only has one post, this featured post 1. And our index page has our test blog post, go to the next page, and it has our featured post 1. So that's working correct. We have both a way to filter it on our featured page and then shows all of them on our home page. Okay, perfect. So now we have our featured page done, our index page done, our authentications done. We have our detail view and our like post function is done. One thing we could do, make this a little better, is to add some icons on these buttons. So what we can do is we can use ion icon. We search for this. We can use this to put these different icons that we can do. If you search like, you'll see we have a dislike there. We do like heart, I think. Yeah, they have a heart icon right there. So we can use these different icons to kind of make it look just a little better, I think. And so to install it, we need to add these 2 script tags. And you can see here, we want to put this right before the closing body tag. So I'll go ahead and just copy these 2 tags, come back to the code. We'll go into our base.html, and at the end of all of this, right down here, I will paste the 2 script tags in. Okay, and we'll save that. Now we can use these icons. If we come back and look at our icons, click on it, we can copy this line right here by just clicking on it. This is our heart, so we'll go to our like button. So we'll go back to our index and we'll go to down here at the bottom, or not index page, our blog post page down here at the bottom right here, this post. We'll put it right here in front of the text, a space, and save that. Now we come back here, refresh the page. Now we have this little heart icon. Now let's do the same for the dislike. So right here, we'll copy this heart dislike icon and we'll find the unlike and we'll put it right here. And then we'll come back, and now if I refresh the page here and I hit like, we now have this crossed out heart to unlike the post. Okay, there we go. That just looks a little better, I think. We'll also go ahead and just add the heart icon as well to the login to like, just so there's an icon there as well. So I'll go and just copy this icon here, copy that, and put that right here. And we'll save that. Okay, so that just makes the buttons look a little better there. That covers some little things there. Let's check our mobile site real quick. So look at it on a mobile view. This could use a little work. So yes, let's add a couple things here to make this look a little better on a mobile view. So first, this button doesn't need so much padding on a mobile sort of view, maybe a little more on the top and bottom though. So if we come back to our blog post page and we look for that button here at the top, we have a margin X5. Let's do a margin X-MD-5, and then maybe a margin X-2 any other situation. And then let's go and just change, let's do a margin top -MD-3, and we'll do a margin Y-3. So that just makes a few changes here. We removed some of the padding on mobile screens and we added some bottom padding and only add this top padding on the medium screen. Back here, refresh the page, and that looks a little better right there. Next, we can fix this text here. It goes like all the way to the end of the screen. That doesn't look that great. So what we can do is we can find it down here, and I'll just add on this here a class of like margin X-MD-0, but then a margin X-3. So what we'll do here is don't put any margin on medium screens, but on smaller screens, we'll put a margin of 3 just to make it not go to the end of the page. Actually, let's try padding maybe. Let's do that instead. See what that looks like. Let's take a look at this, see what we're doing. Let's go ahead and just actually let's remove this class here. And let's try something else instead. Let's just do a column-11 for this. We'll save that. And that looks a little bit nicer, I think. So we'll keep it like that. So just a column-11 seemed to fix that problem. And that makes the rest of this page look pretty good on mobile. So that should be good. Let's go back to our home page here and check this one out. And this one's got the same problem as before. So we'll fix that real quick. If we go back to our index in our featured page, let's set the column for our post list here to use a column-11 on small screens. I'll do the same thing on featured, column-11. Let's go ahead and try that out and see what that looks like over here. And that looks a little better. It makes it look a little nicer, I guess. It doesn't look like our drop down's working though on mobile, so we'll need to go back and fix that here as well. I think that should cover everything else though. So let's just fix our navbar here on mobile, and then all of this stuff should be kind of set up. So let's take a look at what that's doing. Oh, you know what? I bet you it's because I didn't add I bet it's because I forgot to add the JavaScript for Bootstrap in. So if we go to read the docs and we grab this 2 links right here, we can just copy them right here, and we'll add in the JavaScript to our base HTML as well. So like right here, maybe we can try it. Save that. Let's go and try this out now. There we go. Okay, yeah. So I just forgot to add the JavaScript in. That fixes navbar. We can now go to the featured page, and this page looks all right. Let's go ahead and sign out. Let's log in. That one looks fine. Let's check our sign up page. That one looks fine too. So I think our sign in pages, everything are looking okay. We can go and just log in real quick. And that kind of covers almost everything we need. Really, this could be enough if you want to stop here. We could add one more thing. Right now, the only way to edit anything is in the admin page. And we did that because we use that TinyMCE thing to kind of give us a rich text editor. But we could go ahead and just add a delete button on the post. So if the post user who's logged in matches the author on the post, we can allow them to just delete the post. Have a little button here to do so. Let's go ahead and just do that real quick, and that will kind of finish up this tutorial here. So we'll follow the same process as before. We'll go into our text editor, and we'll go into our views to create a view for it. Then we'll add the URL. Then we'll create the template. Okay. Now down here, what we'll do is a class of delete article view, and like the other views we have a built-in delete view for this. So we can do that, and we can import that up here at the top. So this one will come from the same Django's.views.generic. So right here, we'll do delete view, and then we can go ahead and build out the view down here. And so this will look kind of similar. You know, we'll have a model set to article, and then we'll have a template name equaling blog/blog delete. And this template will go to like a kind of confirmation page of like, are you sure you want to delete this blog post sort of thing. And then we need one more additional thing here. We need a success URL. And this will do a reverse_lazy of index. So once we finish this page, we want to go ahead and just redirect back to the index page. And then we'll go ahead and import reverse lazy as well up here. So from Django.urls, import reverse lazy. Okay. And that should be good. Let's go ahead and add the URL now. So we'll go to urls.py, and we'll add one more URL here. We'll add a path of, we'll do int::pk once again to show what post it is we want to delete. and we'll just do /delete, and that'll take us to our delete view to then confirm they want to delete it. So we'll do a delete article view.as_view, which we need to import. So up here at the top, we'll do delete article view. We'll give it a name of delete article. Okay, and we'll save that. And now let's go ahead and create that template. So we'll go into our blog, we'll create a new file, and we'll save this as blog_delete.html. And this will be a pretty simple template. Once again, we want to extend our base template like before. So we'll do extends blog/base.html. And then we'll do block content in block content. And now inside of here, we'll go ahead and first put a link if they want to cancel. We don't want them to have to delete the post, so we'll do a link here with an href of just the index page to go back where they were before, URL index, so they don't delete the posts, and we'll put a text in here of cancel. Now below this a tag, we can go ahead and add in like an h1, and we'll say delete blog post. Then we can add like an h3 right here. We can do something like, are you sure you want to delete this blog article, this blog post? And they'll create a form to allow them to actually delete it. So do a form with a method of post, and we'll close on that form right there. And now inside of here, we'll first put, since we're doing a post request and a form, we need to add our CSRF token. So CSRF_token. And then below that, we can just put in our form. So we'll do just form.as_p, and then we can add a button right here, button, or I guess we don't need a form here. There's no form to put in, so I should delete that line. Add a button of a type of submit, and then we'll add the text of confirm, and we'll close off that button right there. Okay, and we'll save all of that, and that looks good. Now the final thing we want is on our blog post, we want an actual button somewhere so we can actually delete it. Okay, so let's put this like under these p tags right here. We'll have first we'll have an if statement to check if the logged in user matches the user on that's the author of this post. That way it can't be some random user that deletes it. So we'll do if request.user.username is equal to double equals object.author.username. So if the request.user, the logged in user, their username matches the object.author's username, the username that's on the author of this post, then we'll show a button for them. We'll do an a href equaling a URL tag again, URL, and we'll do delete article. Pass in object.pk as the argument. We want to tell them which post to delete. And then we'll put the text of delete this post. Let's add some styles on this as well. We'll add a class of padding bottom class equal. Oops, what's that side here? Class equals padding bottom -3, just to add a little extra padding away from the content of the post. And that should be it for that. Actually, no, this won't work right on here on an anchor tag. So instead of putting the style here on this post, let's wrap this anchor tag in a div, and then we'll add our padding bottom. And we'll close it off right here, like that. Okay, that should be good. And then, of course, we want to make sure we end our if statement as well. So we'll do an end if right here. Okay, now let's come back here. And since I'm logged in as test1, we should get that delete post button, which we do. Okay, so now we click on that delete post button. Now it takes us to this page here. We need to fix the styles, but it should work. Let's go ahead and just fix the styles real quick, and then we'll delete the post if we can. So back inside of our blog delete, let's start by first putting classes on this button. So we'll do a class equals We'll do btn dash primary, I guess, should work fine. And then let's wrap all of this text here inside of a row. So do a div with a class of row, and then we'll do a div with a class of column dash md dash 6, and of course column dash 11, and then we'll do md or mx dash md dash auto. Similar classes that we had on other forms and other things we had elsewhere on the site. We'll comment this in right here, and I'll close off that div and close off the other div right there. And we'll fix these indents right here. Let's go and take a look at that now. So we come back here, delete this post. There we go. That looks a lot better already. Let's just add a little bit more on this cancel button just to bring it out a little bit. So let's wrap that in a div as well. Div class of margin x dash 2 maybe, and then we'll just close it off right there. Let's go ahead and indent this all in like that. Save that. Come back here, refresh the page. There we go. Look at our mobile view, and we'll add some more padding on our mobile view. So let's do like a mx-md-auto and then mx-3. Perfect. Okay. Now let's also add just a little bit on spacing there. So we'll do like a margin top dash md dash 0 and margin top dash 3 as well, just to add a little bit of spacing on the mobile view between the cancel button and the delete. Okay, looks good there. That looks fine there. And let's go ahead and try to delete this post. Okay, perfect. So now you hit delete, and the post was deleted, and now we only have one post available. Now there is one problem though. We put that little if statement that kind of keeps someone from seeing that button if they're not logged in. If they're not logged in as the same user that created the post, but what's stopping them from just going to the URL and doing that? So we said, okay, this post right here, probably an ID of 2. We went /2/delete. We can still get that delete post, and this will come up even if we're not logged in with the correct user. So we need to put some other protections in place so that no user can just go to that URL and delete random posts. And luckily, we have some built-in things with Django we can add to our views to make this work. So we're add these things called mixins to our view here. What mixins will do is they'll add some additional functionality to our view, and we'll add them in as additional parent classes. So we'll add additional mixin classes up here along with our delete view class that we're inheriting from. This allows us to add additional functionality to this to kind of protect it from these different things. So for example, if we sign out, but if we come back here and we go back to that post, /delete, we can still get to it even if we're not logged in. So first thing we'll do, if we're not logged in, we shouldn't allow them to get to this page at all. So we can do a login required mixin to make sure they're logged in to access this view. So we can import that here at the top first. So we'll do from django.contrib.auth.mixins import login required mixin. Okay, and we'll come down here and we'll add that, and make sure you put that in front of the delete view class, login required mixin. Now we come back here and we refresh the page here. It will throw an error saying it doesn't know where to go to. What it's trying to do is it's trying to redirect us to the login page. So we want to go ahead and change this URL so it goes to the correct page. So inside of our settings, we can add a login URL setting to actually tell it where to go to. So I guess first we'll go to our users / the URLs. You'll see that we have a login name here. So we can set that name inside of our settings. So we go back to our settings.py, come down here, and we'll add a, we have a login redirect URL, but we also just do a login URL equaling to login. And now we come back here, we'll go to /2/delete. And now we're just to the login page. It says, okay, you're not logged in. You need to go ahead and log in first. And we can go ahead and log in with any user we want. But no matter what user we log in as, even though this is set to test 1, it still shows that we can delete it. We don't want this user to be able to delete it because we only want the user who created the post to delete their own post. So we need to add one more mixin to make that work. So if we go back to our code here and go back to our views.py, we want to add a user passes test mixin. And what this will do is it will see if the user passes some sort of test. In this case, does the logged in user match the user on this actual article? If they do, then we'll allow them to continue. If they fail it, then we'll just throw like a 403 forbidden saying, hey, you can't access this page. So we'll need to import another mixin here at the top. And this will come from the same place. Be user passes test mixin. And we'll scroll down here and we will add that after our login required mixin. So right here, we'll do user passes test mixin. Okay. And we have that set up there. Now we need to add the actual tests that they will pass. And so when we add this here, we have access to a function we can override, which is called test func, test function. We'll pass in self as the parameter. And now we can put our test here and we'll return true or false. True being they passed, false being they failed the test. So we'll return self.request.user.id is equal to double equals self.quargs.get pk. So the first step we want to do is we want to get the article. So we'll do article equals article.objects.get id equals self.quargs.get pk. And now we can return true or false to determine if they passed or didn't pass the test. So true means they passed the test, false means they failed it. So what test do we want to do? Well, we want to check if the logged in user matches the user that's on this article. So we can do self.request.user.id is equal to double equals article.author.id. So now we're checking, okay, does this user ID match what's on the article? Return true or false. If we get true, we'll allow them to continue on the view. False, we'll throw a 403 forbidden error saying you can't access this page. Let's now refresh this page. And now we get a 403 forbidden because this user did not pass that test. Let's go back to the homepage here. Let's sign out. And now let's sign back in with our test1 user, test1. And you'll see here, posted by test1, so they should pass this test. So now if we go here and we go to /2/delete, they did pass the test, and now we still got our delete blog post page. So that kind of protects it from being deleted by random users who just go to the URL instead of going through this link here as well. But that should cover everything we need for our delete view. And that is really it for this video. We created a very simple blog. Hopefully this got you started with Django. We did lots of different interesting things here with this like button and those different mixins to kind of get you started on some more advanced pieces of Django. And hopefully got you familiarized with all the basics of how Django works. All of the code will be in the description below, as well as links to all of the different documentation and different things we used in this tutorial. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll try to help you in any way I can. But other than that, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.